Welcome to the Heart of Money podcast, where we discuss the personal and emotional elements of money and the impact that money has on every area of your life. I'm Austin Black, a personal finance coach that helps couples overcome their fear and frustration of financial management so they can take complete control of their money. What started as a desire to learn the fundamentals of money management has turned into a passion for helping couples work together to achieve financial success and strengthen their relationship with each other. Whether you're looking for the best strategies to manage your money as a couple, or you're tired of struggling to gain traction and want to overcome the fear and frustration associated with finances, I'm here to help, and this show is for you. Ready to learn more? Then let's talk about the heart of money. Hey folks, welcome back to the Heart of Money episode 101. I am your host, Austin Black, joined by the ever-inspiring, sometimes entertaining co-host, Mr. Bob Wessler. How are you this evening, my friend?
I'm fantastic. I'm running on empty and about where I normally do, so let's get things rolling.
Sounds good, and it's only 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yes, on a Tuesday.
I feel you. It has been 90-0 around here with everything going on. And although I royally hate the time change, I have managed to take advantage of the earlier darkness to go to bed 15 minutes earlier, something like that. Now, if I just get to be a full hour earlier, we'll all be in better shape. But, a little bit at a time, I guess.
I picked up my daughter this evening at 5:15 and she said, "Oh, it's time for bed." And I said, yes, it is time for bed. And then she and Mom went to the store while we're recording and she said, "You're taking me out in the middle of the night?" Yes. So
just wait until Christmas time when it gets dark at 2.
Yeah. Wait, it doesn't get dark at 2 already? It sure feels like it.
It hasn't been quite that terrible yet. Of course, it's still daylight at 5, but yeah, it always takes me it doesn't take a long time to adjust. It takes a long time to get used to it.
Yeah. I'm just glad that I don't have sunlight behind me that, makes me look like
radiating your boldness.
Yeah. I get that nice effervescent glow.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of time change, that was before a very monumental day in our nation's history. November 4th, Election Eve.
The day prior to Election Day. Uh-huh.
When you have to make your final decision and the final stuff happens.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
You
have no idea what I mean, do you?
I really have no idea what you're talking about because I know what happens on the 5th, but I'm not sure where you're going on the 4th.
You haven't been to the Election Eve party?
No.
Me neither. I was hoping you knew something about something cool.
I do, but it's not an Election Eve party. So
Okay. I can go with that.
I do know that I had to recast my ballot because I filled in the wrong oval.
You didn't follow the instructions. Imagine that.
I did follow the instructions, but I filled in the wrong blank, and then I went back and said, I need a new ballot. First time in my lifetime I have ever done that. And ironically, my wife did the same thing.
Was she copying what you did?
No, she was nowhere near me. She was on the other side of the room.
So you're just dyslexic?
Yeah, I misread the lines.
So you about through the election off is what you're trying to say?
That's right. I tried to tip it in favor of someone else somewhere on the ballot.
Goodness, can't trust you for anything.
Nope. I'm just licensed and bonded and, run through FBI
insured for nothing.
Checks and all those other things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, whether you are politically invested or not, there is a new president coming down the pipeline to take effect in January 2025. And we don't get political on here, but I think it's safe to say that we are both satisfied with the political decision that was made. a lot of people are excited, a lot of people are concerned, a lot of people are upset. It's kind of a mixed bag from what I have seen. And I I think that there's a lot that we don't know really what to expect. We know it's going to be different and it could be better, but we don't know really what to expect. So I thought tonight, in light of that being on the horizon, we might just talk about what is the forecast in the future, and even more important than that, do we put enough emphasis or too much emphasis on politics when it comes to finances and economics and everything else? Where are we sitting, and what do we need to prepare for? So that's kind of where my head's at tonight. What do you think?
Well, you said there some people are concerned. I think you're putting it very lightly to say that there are people that are concerned. I think there's some that are losing their minds. I think it would be a great time for mainstream media in general just to go away. That it seems like this was the election cycle for podcasts and alternative forms of media. And I can't tell you the number of text messages I got saying to vote for this or vote for that, or, hey, I need your money, or, oh my gosh. And as soon as I block one, I'd get three more. I'm sure there's a Greek god or a demon or whatever. You cut off one head and 8 more rise, or, Hydra from Captain America or whatever it is. So,
yeah, before the primaries, I probably got no less than 15 texts per day about political stuff. And of course, I'm just deleting them left and right. Never looked at any of them. I was so glad when the primaries were over that that subsided. And then I got some text for the general, but definitely not to the extent. But either way, I already know who I'm voting for. I've got my reliable sources that I trust, that I, research through them. I don't need someone sending me their decision via text. So I could take my number off that list very quickly, very easily.
Well, and it's not even that they're trying to sway your vote by changing your mind. It's just so they can get their candidate's name in front of you for name recognition when you go to the ballot. We had something in the mail from a guy who actually played soccer with my brother when we were growing up. But we got something from him every day or every other day. And he won. But it was just like, this is ridiculous. The amount of mailers.
Yeah. That every day, multiple pieces from the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I like politics. I like legislation and policy. I like following it, but that's too much even for me. I'm like, it's not bombarding, but it's overkill in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think you're right. There's I don't understand why there is I guess before I go there, to your point on the media side, I was another day or two after I saw where Elon had made a post on X saying something about you are the new media. You kind of alluding to what you said there of mainstream media. I expect it's going to fall away or at least diminish greatly, especially because it's backed by the liberal left side. But you look at podcasts, at social media, at all of these independent sources, that's where everyone's listening to for their news and their information. Yeah, hopefully this could be a news source. We might make this maybe not news, but this is definitely an independent opinion outlet. How's that for a new classification?
And independent with our own bias. It's probably
exactly
the
yes.
best way to put it. So
yes,
yeah.
We are not funded by anyone that says we have to say something. We are funded by our own desires and passions and interest in helping you, our listener. So, yeah, it's definitely gonna be a different dynamic. I think regardless of what side of the fence you are on, regardless of who you voted for, we're gonna be facing a different dynamic next year, and it's something that I think we can prepare for, that we can plan for. But there's also gonna be ways that you need to be anticipating. What's this going to look like for me financially? Because it's not going to be the same. There's going to be some good, going to be some bad. And I know I have not been as immersed in the economic discussion, maybe as you or other people have. But I do know that Trump has some definite changes in mind that could, what's the best way of saying this? It could alter the way that we manage our money and do business and make financial decisions, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think that from what I've seen, definitely policy shifts. Economically, I think there are a lot of people that are excited. You look at where the market has been in the last 2 weeks, the highs that are continuously being hit or coming in waves. I think at a national level, we're going to have one outlook. It already looks like there are other countries that are accepting what has happened. And I think Trump himself, it looks like the people that he's putting in positions are seasoned people, well known. They're not just somebody that he's picked to do the job that he's going back to his NBC show of seeing if they can keep the job. At least I hope we have a different Trump in that aspect, that he is more grounded and not flying off the handle of, I don't like this person's decision, so you're fired.
Yeah. You didn't say it right, though.
I didn't. I wasn't trying to. There's a huge difference between the way I say it and the way he says it. So I just think that from a national level, the U.S. will be in a different spotlight. It's interesting kind of what some of the dynamics are already in some of the press as far as like climate change and looking to China as a leader in that. The whole dynamic with China is going to be different. But from an economic or a financial, nothing moves quickly.
Right.
There might be some quick stuff that goes on with foreign policy.
Yep.
Or, with border security. That remains to be seen, other than, just tightening up the border versus those that are already here. Deportations, how is that going to work? How does it affect you? Well, to some extent, it affects the housing market. But overall, I'm going to cut to the chase of what you have said, or what you're going to get to, is that we still have to make our own financial decisions, because the government's not going to do that for us.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get anything move so fast that you're going to have a windfall in returns on anything except for the market right now. And you can't time it.
Right.
You could put money in today and it'd be gone tomorrow, and then take your money out tomorrow and it come back double the following day. That's just how it's working right now. It's how it's worked for years. But just in a nutshell, it's on us to handle ourselves and how policies come through and reflect what we need to do with our finances as those conditions or those policies arise.
Yeah, one of the things that I caught in the interview that it was Dave Ramsey was doing the interview, or was being interviewed. And I think he might be with Theo Vaughn, I think is who he was with. And they were talking about, what was going to happen upcoming election, and how that was going to change the economic climate. And Dave said something along the lines of, I have made financial mistakes with every president, and I've had financial success with every president. He's like, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference to me. I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing. And I think whenever we look at the grand scheme, big picture of things, there won't be a lot happen, like you said, right away, which is maybe unfortunate, because I feel like we have gone downhill so hard, so fast, from the standpoint of inflation skyrocketed, all these things happen, and I don't think we can even really blame a single person for it. I mean, it definitely, like I said, there's policies that enacted that and that caused that. We can't say it's Trump's fault. We can't say it's Biden's fault. That was the nature of the policy and the cabinet. But I believe that some of the things that Trump wants to initiate will lead us in the right direction. It may not get us there by next summer. It may not get us there by the end of his term, but at least hopefully it will help us pivot to where it's, you know, American economics are more feasible, are more possible, and not as limiting, not as constricting. But I agree with you in that it's not going to be a light switch, and I wish it was in some instances, but it's just that's not how it works. So I think the important thing is we prepare for ourselves. We take control of what we have control over, and we prepare to have success and avoid mistakes regardless of what the outcome is. I think that's kind of where all of us have to be, because it is out of our control, frankly.
I think a switch was flipped in optimism for some and despair for others. That,
right.
Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Some were so glad that we've changed course. Others were like, oh my gosh, we're going back to where we were. And, you know, some of it I think is reliable information to make a decent outlook or prediction on. Others of it is, I don't think there's really any basis for it other than it's fear mongering.
Yeah.
But you know, it's going to take a while to get anywhere past where we are. And we didn't just get where we are now overnight.
Yeah.
And from an economic standpoint, you know, all the stimulus kicked in early on during and while, or I guess during COVID, not necessarily after COVID, because it kind of continued. But people held on to those funds and they continued to spend. And we have not been in a position like this in our history. And what the Fed has tried to do with bringing inflation down, people are still spending money because they have it, but now they're running out of it. That at this point, pretty much all of the stimulus money is gone. So we're starting to see that things are cooling to the point of people now have incurred more debt. They're not paying off their loans or their notes. Credit card debt is increasing again. So, you know, if you're looking for a car, it might be cheaper to buy one next year, but it's still going to cost you double of what it did 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Not because of who's in office, but because of the difference in what's happened in our nation, what's happened in the world.
What are some of the fallacies that you think some parts of our culture might believe when it comes to the changing of hands or an election? And I guess maybe kind of what I'm more directly asking is, do you feel like a portion of people's decision to support a certain candidate is based upon what it's going to do for them economically the year that they take office?
You know, I think so. I think a lot of it has to do with party alignment and what they believe for a party specific over what an individual is promoting. Positive or negative, I think there are people that bring a perspective and they might not be the person you want to vote for, but if they're the face of a party that you align with, you're still going to vote for. I think that a lot of what we see, somebody's comment the other day was, you know, all this stuff about how bad Trump is, all of a sudden that just kind of went away. Now we got to, you know, we're going to play nice or whatever, and we've got to unify. And said, well, you know, if you really thought he was that bad, you wouldn't stop saying that the day after the election unless it was just politics.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with politics is it's politics.
Mm-hmm.
You have a veneer over the actual, and they're going out and politicking and saying that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, or they're not going to change anything, but they can't say what they would bring differently than what already exists, but it'll be different.
Yeah.
That once January 20th happens, you might have a flurry of things that change with a stroke of a pen because that's become popular in the last 20 years. Or things slow roll, things just change, or they stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that was said was going to be a campaign promise for the year prior, not all that happens.
Right. And the things that do happen, you don't see the results of that until 2 or 3 years later. And that's I don't remember who I heard it from, but there's commentary around typically policies get blamed on the person that's in office when the results of the policy are from the person that was there before.
Yeah.
It's that delayed result. So, and some people say, well, you got to clean up the mess. Well, yeah, there's a mess there, but then what the next person in line is going to do is have an effect on the person after them. Everyone is responsible for their own actions because the reaction of that is going to have implication on everyone else.
Yeah. Yep, and a lot of the stuff that's still coming through. Now, granted, I don't know how much is really getting anywhere right now with the stalemate in House and Senate, and now we're going to have a president, a Senate, and more than likely a House that all leans right, but it's a very thin majority. So, I think if from a market standpoint, the market's like when you have balance, because nobody gets to take direct control and move one way of the pendulum or the other. But the margin's so small that we could still be in a stalemate on some stuff, depending on who the outliers are of the left and right groups.
Yeah, very good point. So, to that point, as we look at, tactical strategies for personal finance, I think you and I would both agree that not a lot changes when it comes to what we do with our money on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. However, in a good economy, not that the economy has any impact on our success, but in a good economy, which I hope that we are headed in that direction, there are some things that you can do to take advantage of that situation to benefit yourself more. There's also things that you don't want to do in lieu of the free flow that you might experience. So I'll share some of my tips, but what are some strategies that you think people should keep in mind to not only experience success in what could potentially be a better economy, but to also protect themselves and not go way off on the end of the diving board just because they feel like they're going to be safe.
Yeah. I think the economy doesn't determine what we do with our money, but it helps us decide. It's an influence on our financial decisions.
Yep.
Some cases, the price of groceries much higher than they were previously. Are they going to go back down to that level? Probably not. Is our variety of choices going to go back to where they were? No, probably not. Is quality going to come back? Probably not. If you're going to get quality, you're going to pay more for that quality, but you're not going to have the selection that we had before. So there are parts of a better economy that will allow us to not spend so much in some areas and more in others. But really, it goes back to the bare bones of tracking what you spend, having your budget, allocating budgetary items for where they need to be, keeping an eye on it, changing it as you need to, and then also keeping an eye on, if you're further along, with investments and savings. Roth IRA, this last year, I think there was an increase in what you could put towards a Roth IRA. So you want to max out what you can at $7,000 versus $6,500. You get an extra $500 this year that you can allocate to that. Savings rates are going to go down. We've already seen that some. I'm surprised that money market account rates are still higher than certificates of deposit. CDs, we've talked about this, they're dropping. Their terms are much shorter and their rates are not as high, but they're going to continue to drop. I saw one the other day that you could get the same amount in interest for 6 months as you could in 5 years.
Good grief.
And you don't want to tie your money up for 5 years. And, 6 months from now, you might get half of what you get in that CD for the time being. But it's kind of a calculated risk of how much do I want to put away, how much do I want to tie up, and more than likely I'm not going to get a better option unless I go into the market, which, shot up significantly. We're at our highs of where they've ever been. Savings rates are going to come down outside of CDs. We're going to get back to that 0.05% that savings accounts get at brick and mortar banks. Many brick and mortar banks didn't ever come off of that 0.05%.
Right. That's why I went online.
That's why you just want to be smart with your money and keep on top of either promotional rates or identifying what moves are being made in the market and how they affect you, not necessarily that the sky is falling and we need to do something about it. Same thing with mortgages. Mortgages haven't come down. They have actually gone up. But that's another supply and demand and the cost of inputs that go into it. Labor and materials both cost more.
I feel like, maybe I should say feel like, I look for there to be a separation in where we have been and where we will be in terms of cost of living. I don't think it's going to be as much as we would like it to be, but I think we will see some relief just from the standpoint of, if we start drilling oil or drilling for oil on U.S. soil, that's going to have an impact on fuel prices to some extent. But there's still, like you said, it's that slow movement. And whenever you look at the supply chain, it's a staggered approach. So, it might take a couple years to get into a spot where, hey, we have a little bit of breathing room. And I'm not an economist, I'm a coach, so I don't even really know, the timeline of those things moving. But I know that unfortunately it doesn't move as fast as we would like it to. So, in the meantime, I feel like, as you said, people should just continue to pay attention to what they are doing with their money. I think first and foremost, that is the number one strategy is, what are you doing with your money? Are you budgeting? Are you making smart spending and saving decisions? Are you avoiding debt? Are you looking for, the good investments that are going to have a good return? What are you doing with your money? Because waiting around for the economy to get better isn't going to make you more financially successful.
Right.
Never has, never will. So I think a heightened response and attention to your money management so that you are ready for the good times to happen. I think that is the number one thing that people can do, is take care of yourself where you're at, because then that allows opportunity to present itself when economy gets better, when investments come around, when you are in a position to take advantage of financial opportunity.
Yep.
Now, don't expect it to come, but be prepared for it to come. And I think that's a very important distinction We don't know what the market's going to do. We don't know month to month what our economy is actually going to encounter. But if we can be judicious in preparing for the opportunity, then we'll be one of the few that actually take advantage of that when the time comes. Now, you've got a lot more experience on the interest rates, on the actual economic pieces than I do. So I'm really glad to have heard your thoughts on that. And when I look at overall money management within our current situation, all I can really pull out as a strategy is stay focused, stay intentional, stay in control. Mm-hmm. You can lose control in a good economy just because you don't care.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is who you listen to also.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned drilling for oil. I don't know how much of it is drilling for oil as much as it's getting dormant sites back into active status. Mm-hmm. Or even, we had a pipeline that was all but ready to go years ago, and that was halted, and I don't know if that's an opportunity that can come back or not. But it really doesn't matter if the pipeline comes back tomorrow or 2 years from now or doesn't. You're still going to pay a price at the pump that's going to fluctuate, 10 cents, 25 cents. It might go down 2 cents for, 3 weeks in a row and then shoot up another 20 cents.
Right.
But you have a good idea that there's a pattern and the price is what it is, and it might move a little bit, but you're not going to see 89-cent gas. You're probably not going to see $5 gas either.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I'd be good with the $1.89 though.
Yeah, $1.89 wouldn't be bad. I think we were there a couple of years ago, but
yeah, I it's funny. So not to derail you there, but I distinctly remember, I think it was whenever Laura and I first got married. Of course, Trump took office shortly after that for the first term, and gas was like $1.25 a gallon. And I was so aggravated because I never went anywhere, so I could never take advantage of the lower fuel price compared to what it had been. Man, I need to drive somewhere to enjoy this.
I think from the standpoint of knowing who to listen to, that goes back to my comment about mainstream media. We have the media. I mean, you've got NBC, ABC, CBS, whatever. There is a lean there when they have their shows, and I couldn't watch them anyway. And some of their programming isn't worth watching. Mm-hmm. But you have these news talk shows and these 24-hour constant news networks, not to pan off of CNN, but our economy, our lives were not built for 24/7 news because life doesn't move that fast. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you can learn something today, and by tomorrow, it's old news.
Right.
So the caveat to that is if you don't listen to the news for 2 weeks, you really haven't missed much because it changes so much, but it's mostly just somebody's opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going for, is keep you hooked to sell ads for you to buy a product somewhere else. The money guys that are saying there's a hot take on this or a hot take on that, don't buy it. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before, that, index funds plodding away with dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging right now is really expensive. If you still put $20 in, you're still getting $20 of something, but you're getting less of it per share because the prices are so high. Mm-hmm. But you don't hold out for the prices to go down because it's likely the prices are not going down. Mm-hmm. So, the comment about the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today.
Right.
You got to go ahead and get moving and chart a path and keep plodding along, because if you wait for a better opportunity or for the economy to get better, by the time you're ready to jump in, more than likely it's already past you, and you're like, oh, what have I been sitting around for?
Yeah.
Because
And to that point, what is the definition of a better economy?
Right. Better than what we are now.
Yeah.
But who's to say that, biblically speaking, there was never look to the past, because who's to say that the past was any better than today?
Right.
It's just how you remember it, and the bias. Hey, we talked about that when we first started. That goes with it. So it really boils down to your point of, you set your path, you keep plodding along, and you say, here's my money, here's what I'm doing with it. Am I sticking to my plan? Do I need to adjust? How do I adjust, and how do I move forward?
Yep, absolutely. I don't, obviously none of us are in a position to make decisions that impact the economy, that impact the global finances, that impact millions of Americans. But what we do have the capacity to do is to make decisions for ourselves and our families, our communities. And honestly, whenever you think about it from that perspective, you have the power to dictate what the economy is at a very, 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 very small scale. But if all of us would embrace that power, we could change economics, because we wouldn't be reliant upon government economics. And I think that's something that we often, don't really give credit to or think about. And again, it proves the point of you shouldn't rely upon the government. You should be able to, you need to focus on taking care of yourself, securing your own path, your own success and everything. But by doing so, you impact the economic status of your family, of your community, and who knows how far the ripple effect will actually go. But I think that's the most important thing that I want people to hang on to is, our responsibility is to ourselves. And if we take care of ourselves, everyone else around us will be in good shape too. It's kind of that mutual community.
Yeah, I think we can affect our personal economies, but there has to be a significant shift within a group of people to affect a greater economy.
Right.
When everybody's going out and buying toilet paper prices are going to go up. It's going to become scarce, and you've got the old supply and demand issue. The strike a couple weeks ago on the dock workers. It was a short-lived strike, but everybody went out and bought toilet paper again. But toilet paper is primarily U.S. sourced.
Right.
It's not coming from other countries. So there was no need to make a panic buy on toilet paper.
And if all else fails, go grab the oak leaf.
There you go. I'm not going to go any further on that one. But our economy...
Make sure it's oak.
Yeah. Our economy is mostly based on, well, not our gross economy, but our personal, on the decisions we make. And our government is not meant to support us. The government is supposed to help protect, provide infrastructure, for the greater good of everybody. But it's not supposed to be my support system.
Right.
So relying on the government to fulfill your needs is never going to make you any better or anybody else any better, because it's going to have to take from somebody else to be in that position. And it's going to take from all of us to put others in those positions. And then you get into different philosophies of government. So we're going back in a different direction with the country and how things are managed and how things are run. We'll see how vastly different it ends up being and how long it takes to get there. And if we continue down that path for the next couple of years, but anything we do is short term. Within a decade, you're going to move back the other way. Yeah. So again, it's not the government. It's not wholesale larger economy. It's on how each of us affects our own finances and our families and charts our own path.
Bada bing, bada boom. Put a fork in it and call it good. Very well said. Well, folks, hope we did not get too political for you. We tried to stay neutral while still expressing our opinions. And I think, bottom line, no matter what party you affiliate with, no matter who you vote for, no matter what your global or economic perspective is, the reality is it's your money. Take control of it, do the right things with it, and you will be successful in some capacity. So great conversation, my friend. I'm excited to see what our next conversations bring. And in the meantime, have fun. That's all I got.
I was waiting for keep on keeping on or something, profound like that.
Yeah. Have fun. Be smart. Don't spend all your money in one spot.
Profound indeed.
All right, folks. We'll talk to you next time on The Heart of Money. Hey, folks, did you find today's episode valuable? If so, I would truly appreciate it if you left a 5-star review and shared the episode with a friend. My goal is to help as many couples as possible in their journey to gaining complete control of their money. Also, I have a free gift that I want to share with you for taking the time to listen to today's show. I have a brand new video training that outlines 5 steps for making a budget that will give you true financial freedom. In this training, I share how you can create a budget in a matter of minutes and make it easy to implement. Who doesn't want that, right? You'll learn what categories you need to cover all the bases each month and how to protect yourself against financial stress. You can access your free gift at freedommoneycoach.com/budget guide. That's freedommoneycoach.com/budget guide.